Some of you might have noticed that Jerome has a bit of a hitch in his step. He is undergoing some health challenges, but we see you getting healthy and whole. Who's Robert down here? I'm sorry we left you out of the bulletin. I hope you don't take it personally. It wasn't a decision that was made. It was... Anyway, thank you for lighting the candle. This is the last week of Advent, and the subject matter is on love, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Love, quite simply, is just getting along. It seems easy, but sometimes it isn't so easy. There's conflicts between us. Some are short, some are long-lived. There are acts of disrespect. There are acts of unkindness. So we need to learn how to live on this planet conflict-free. Now, a historical problem in churches, for most of them, has always been this conflict between the minister and the music department. Fortunately, I've never had that problem. Steve Perry, his choir, and all of his musicians are wonderful to work with. There was actually a time...
As is Duke.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I thought that was God for a minute. You won't believe this, but there was actually a time in this church when I was attending before I was minister, and the minister and the music director actually got into a shouting match in Gallery Hall 5 minutes before the service over what music was going to be played. Now, I've never had that problem because I know very little about music. Steve Perry is a master, so I just let Steve and his people do what they do best, and everything works beautifully so. Now, I was talking to my cousin Ozzy about this very same thing this week. And he ran into this woman that he was absolutely smitten with. He discovered she sang in the choir of Our Savior's Lutheran Church. So he thought, even though he's not a churchgoer, in order to get a little bit closer to her, he would join the choir. And he did. Now, as soon as he got engaged in the choir, he realized there was a lot of politics going on between the minister and the music department. The minister was a very strong-minded man. He had his ways set. He knew what music needed to be played. He knew what music the people wanted, and he wasn't going to budge no matter what the music people did. The music people, on the other hand, they were the experts. They said, no, you're wrong. This is the music that we love to sing. This is the music people know best. This is the music we're going to sing. And this conflict went on for the longest time between the minister and the music department. So finally, one Sunday, the minister decided he'd use the power of the pulpit to get his point across. So he talked about flexibility. He talked about going with the flow. He talked about following the direction of superiors. He talked about all of those things that tried to get the choir to come around to his way of thinking. When he was done, Cousin Ozzy stood up and sang the old gospel song, "We Shall Not Be Moved." The next Sunday, the choir, the minister gets up, and he had heard different stories circulating around the church, gossip and rumors about what was going on between him and the music department. So he thought he'd put a stop to it. He got up and talked about the sinfulness of gossip, how bad it is to spread rumors about other people and talk about them behind their back. He told about how bad it was that within the church there were splinters because some people were telling stories about other people. The minute he was done, Cousin Ozzy stood up and sang, "We love to tell the story." After a while, the minister came to the point where this just wasn't the right fit for him. He was going to move on. So the next Sunday, he gets up and he said, I've given this a great deal of contemplation, and Jesus Christ spoke to me. Jesus Christ came into my prayers, and Jesus Christ has directed me to leave this church and search out another parish. Cousin Ozzy stood up and said, or saying, what a friend we have in Jesus. Okay. 'Tis a season to be jolly. So the primary focus is to be at peace, to get along with each other, to be nice. And I'd like to put this in perspective this morning. So just go with me a little bit as I move into the scientific realm of exactly what's taking place in our existence. Researchers and experts tell us that there are many, many, many universes. We can't really detect them, but they feel that there's more than just this one universe. But we live in one universe. All of us who's come forth from this universe. Within this universe, there are millions of galaxies. And we live in one of those galaxies. In that galaxy, which we call the Milky Way, there are 400 billion stars. Now think about this, one universe, millions of galaxies, 400 billion stars, and one of those stars is ours. Collectively, we all own it. We all have equal ownership. We call it the sun. Of all the stars in the universe, each one has planets orbiting around it, at least one. Planets orbiting around it. Our sun has 9 planets orbiting around it. Now I know some of you are doing the math in your head and say, well, there's only 8, but I'm including Pluto. And if I could just... Yes. If I could get on my soapbox for 1 minute. For 90 years, Pluto has been considered a planet. And then recently, some wise guy said, no, it's too small. So they kicked it out of the planetary club, and now Pluto is no longer involved. And that's not fair. I mean, for God's sakes, Mickey Mouse named his dog after the planet. So Pluto was out. And I say, let us stand up, let us raise our voices, let us protest. Pluto is good. Pluto counts. We will not let Pluto get kicked out. Yes, yay Pluto. But I digress. So we have this one universe, we have millions of galaxies. Within the galaxy we have 400 billion stars. Every star has its own solar system. Every star has its planets. One planet around the star was just close enough to the sun and just far away from the sun. It was just warm enough. It was just cool enough. And this is, of course, the Earth, which allowed life to come forward. That life is you and me. Now, the point that I try to make here is there is one thing going on. There is one universe that we live in. There is one galaxy that we live in. There is one sun that we have. There is one planet that we live on. And every single living thing on this planet shares equally in the ownership of the earth. Divinely speaking, every single thing on this planet, every living thing, has equal rights to the earth. So that being said, when we stop and look at all these things that are going on, we wonder, what is the purpose of the earth? What is the history of the earth? What is the future of the earth? On this earth, there is only one species alone, and that's the human species that has been elevated in consciousness to the point that it can understand not only what's going on, but it can make decisions that directly affect the earth and all the living things on it, and that is us. We have been appointed caretaker of the earth. Us, human beings, all as one collective group. Now, when I speak of us and I speak of we, I see no divisions. This is a unified group. When I speak of us and we, I speak about Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Jews, atheists, and everybody else. When I speak of us, I speak of blacks, whites, Asians, Hispanics, Native Americans, and everyone else. When I speak of us, I speak of every social group, every family group, every social, monetary, political group. It is all of us. When I speak of us, it is all of us. So if we were to get a report card, all of us, the human species, what would it look like at this time? If for some reason it was halftime or midterm and grades came out, how would we do? Well, when we take a closer look at the facts, every 104 seconds, one of us is raped. Every 100 seconds, one of us is killed in combat. Every 60 seconds, one of us is murdered. Every 40 seconds, one of us commits suicide. Every 4 seconds, one of us starves to death. So how are we doing as caretakers of the earth? We have to stop and ask ourselves, is this the way we want to live? Because we're in complete control of it. You know, all those statistics I just mentioned would not exist if human beings didn't exist. Is this the way we want to live? We have been given everything we need to create a peaceful planet Earth. But we have to make a decision that we don't want to live the way we have. For 95% of human history, there has been a war going on. 95% of the time. We know it doesn't work. We can't battle our way out of our differences. We can't exterminate one particular group of people and think everything's going to be okay. As a world population of human beings, we have to determine, is this the way we want to live? And I believe that every single person on this earth would say no. And then it's, well, how do we want to live? And it's just taken that first very small step towards that vision. In America, as Americans, or as people visiting from other countries, is this the way we want to live? In America, is this the way we want our country to be? The people getting killed in the streets, hunger and poverty, gangs fighting gangs, disregard for other people, great inequality in just basic human rights. In this country, is that the way we want to live? I don't think so. We can do better than that. We're caretakers of the earth. We come out of the universe. We need to decide how we want to live in this country and then stand up and create a model or an example for the rest of the world to follow. That life can be beautiful, life can be pleasurable, life can be safe, life can be providing for all people. Now let's take this a little closer to home and talk about you individually. Think about your life. Are you living the life you want to live? And could it be better? You know, we all have conflicts from time to time, both within the home and outside the home. Anybody traveled to a mall in the last 3 days and tried to find a parking spot, I'm sure that you've had some anxiety about that. But how do you want to live? Do you want to live your life the way you have? Or do you want to step back and think there's a better way? See, we live in a world that is very, very diverse. Lots and lots of choices, lots of varieties going on. And we get to pick and choose what we like. We go to the grocery store, we pick and choose what we like. Some stuff we like, some stuff we don't like. We meet people at different occasions. Some people have personalities that we like, some people have personalities that we don't like. And what I'm saying is, it's okay not to like everything. You know, our personal choices and our preferences, where we came from, how we live our lives, dictate what we like and what we don't like. So it's okay not to like other people even. But we have a responsibility, we have a moral responsibility, we have a spiritual responsibility, we have a divine responsibility to love. For not liking somebody doesn't disjoint or fracture the unity of the universe. That is just picking and choosing what we prefer and what we don't prefer. But not loving does. You can't feel that unity of the universe, which brings us joy, which brings us happiness, which brings us a true feeling of purpose, by not loving. Loving's the only way. Now, I need to specify what I mean by love. I don't mean that you have to embrace and hug and kiss every person that you see and say, I love you. You don't have to go over the top like that. In the biblical sense, in the spiritual sense, loving is just quite simply wishing another person well. You might not like them, but you wish them well, because their wellness directly affects the wellness of it all. If we're going to be in unity, we have to be joined together with a sense of wishing wellness for the planet and wellness for every single person on it. That is being connected. Now, you'll notice when you're feeling angry, you're feeling down and out, or you're feeling rejected, or you're feeling highly irritated, whatever it might be, there's always a disconnect at the bottom of it. You're disconnected with something. You know, Christmas has a nature of its own. We were talking about this earlier. You know, it's a hectic time. It's a chaotic time. It's got all sorts of things going on. People are kind of tight and stressed out. That's just the nature of the holidays. Now, we can resist that. We can disconnect from it. We can curse it. We can complain about it. But nevertheless, it is what it is. That's the nature of the holidays. We don't necessarily have to like it, but we have to love it because it's a part of our life, it's a part of our planet. And by loving it, it's simply wishing everybody well that comes our way, whether there's any verbal communication or not. It's that connection, it's that sense of unity that gives us the joy of being alive. It's that unity and that sense of connection that holds us back from wishing somebody ill, that holds us back from thinking about people on the other side of the world that we want to demolish and exterminate, that holds us back thinking about people all over the world that are starving that we want to do something about. We are one united whole. And there's no getting around that. We can't get out of that. You know, Jesus said, a house divided will not stand. And whether that's your house, whether that's your neighborhood, whether that's our community, whether it's this earth, whether it's this solar system, whether it's this galaxy or this universe, it will not stand divided. So each of us, we sometimes feel helpless. What can I do? How can I help? Well, you can help by determining how you're going to live your life, and that life can be lived with a sense of connection to all, wishing everybody well, having compassion for everybody. If you don't like them, step a few feet the other way. You don't have to engage with them or interact with them, but just wish them well. So as we move into meditation, I want you to think a little bit about your life. Think a little bit about your life as an American. Think a little bit about your life as a human being on the planet Earth. And we all agree that we don't want to live the way that we have. So let's just think of how we do want to live and how we can incorporate that into our own personal lives. We'll now move into meditation.